After 2 years, 18-hour stretches and weekends which ended too quickly, Dr. Judy Deterville-Jacob finally completed a critical review of St. Lucia's tourism product for the period 2003 to 2023. Her in-depth analysis of the industry covered the exponential growth during the last 2 decades and its relations to poverty and employment within the tourism industry.
I chose to focus on tourism because it is everybody's business. Everybody's talking about it. Many lives are dependent on it. Government is dependent on it. The government payroll is dependent on it. So it stands to reason then that as the key pillar of economic growth and development, that it should be talked about, it should be documented. And so this really was the driving force. So you can actually now use 3 words, really: tourism, poverty, and employment. So if tourism is successful, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It should impact employment. It should impact poverty. And so if you look backwards now, jobs are created. What's the level of jobs that are created? And then what's the impact on the poverty countrywide? And you live here, so you can do the math as well. So we look at that. We look at the various relationships now that speak to the Sustainable Development Goals, and that's 2 of them. One is no poverty, and the other one is goal number 8, which is decent work and development, growth and development. So those 2 developmental goals speak back to the poverty and employment, which are dependent on tourism.
The 5-chapter study breaks down the researchers' objectives, methodology, critical analogy, findings, and recommendations.
But they are broken up into a number of recommendations that speak to each research objective, that speak to each research question. And you will have time to look at the research questions and the objectives, and then you can see now, delve deeper now into the actual recommendations per objective, per question.
Dr. Deterville-Jacob remains hopeful that her book can inspire more in the field to produce projects such as these. She remains hopeful these locally produced qualitative studies can be used when drafting new policy frameworks.
I wanted not to collect dust on a shelf, that rather somebody will flip through the pages and think, what did she mean by the poverty headcount rate was? Or what did she mean by exploring the role of tourism in terms of achieving the Sustainable Development Goal number 1? And are we doing this? And if we're not, then why aren't we? And then what do we need to do to get there to meet that objective? So it's sort of a thought-provoking introduction, not just introduction, but it sort of will assist in existing knowledge that will deepen the conversation, and that should result in action now, active results to make a difference in the industry.
The Sandals Grand Public Relations Manager recently concluded her Doctorate of Business Administration degree with her thesis focused on tourism. With her 2 decades of service in the tourism industry, Dr. Deterville-Jacob sought to produce a project which would bring light to the many pitfalls of the industry and how all those involved can equally benefit from the tourism dollar. For Choice News Now, I am Chelsea Austinay.